event.
Perfect position. When it's set to... There we go.
Okay, I think I got my blackboards.
That's awesome.
You want to do a mic check, Will?
Alright, mic check.
Yeah, you sound good. Nice.
Okay, good. Actually, hang on. Let me just put the microphone so it's in better place. How is... How's this?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good.
Hey, look, we have blackboards.
I ended up finding an idea.
Alright, sure. How am I sounding? Okay. Okay, good. Cool. Actually, my microphone is having a bit of trouble staying in the same place. I'm going to try and put it somewhere else.
Ducks tape it to your face.
Thing is, I'm using my webcam for my microphone, and it's supposed to clip onto my monitor, but I dropped it a few months ago, and the clip came off, so it's just balanced.
Oh god.
Right, it should be fine.
I know that struggle.
That certainly is a struggle.
Okay.
Alright, you know how everything works. I'll be up here.
Hi, Lambda.
Hi.
Why do I look like a spawn egg? Like, I'm so confused.
Oh, you can inflict levitation with those? I didn't know that. That's cool.
Hello.
Wait, where are my foxes? Ah, there. Hello. Hey, foxes.
I'm just going to do a quick reboot, because I realised I forgot to install replay mod.
Oh.
It doesn't work anyway. Oh, damn it.
Well,
Isn't there a mod to make so the voice chat is recorded with the replay mod?
Yes, there's a mod for that.
Yeah.
But if replay mod doesn't work, then yeah.
You know, I just realized it hasn't rained once.
Yes, that's right.
because it's disabled, I think.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, game rule do weather cycle is false.
Alright, can everyone hear me?
I could hear
Loud
you.
and clear.
There you are.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, nice.
I can hear a minecart. Is that supposed to...
Let's
make sure
create.
it's
Don't
fine.
worry about it.
Okay.
You
Okay,
could
I'm gonna
adjust
wait a
your-
couple of minutes. Just until we hit exactly midnight or whatever it is in your time zone.
1 a.m.
1.
Midnight gang.
You
Imagine
could
Oh, yeah,
adjust your
midnight gang.
volumes if the minecart
It's
is
just like 7
distracting.
p.m. for me.
It's midnight here. Stop crying. Those are nice black boys.
Yeah.
Good job, Aurora.
how am I supposed to like do Cooper's talk? It's like at 5 a.m. Like I can't justify waking up at 5 a.m. and staying up until 5 a.m. That's
I used to stay up to 5 a.m. regularly. It is not good. Do not recommend.
Yeah, do not recommend.
to be fair. I already slept like half an hour. No wait, 1.5 hours.
All right.
Alright, everyone ready?
Sure.
Sit yourself down, my friend. Thank you. All yours, Will.
Alright, let me just... Is that on? Hang on, let me just switch to voice activated stuff so I don't have to hold down caps lock the whole time.
Turn down threshold.
Alright, how's that?
Sounds good to me.
Good, good. Right, so,
Happy with that.
my talk is called Deep Mod Interoperability, and I'm going to be covering 3 points basically. What is interoperability? What do I mean by deep mod interoperability? Why should you care about it? And how can you go about making it happen? So, first off, what is interoperability? Well, it's essentially when a system can work together with other systems. So we take it for granted, really, that mods are compatible with each other nowadays, because really it wasn't always so. Back in the days of jar mods and manual patching and deleting meta-inf, you would have like a definite conflict if 2 mods modified the same Minecraft class. Here's a screenshot that I... Can I load? Okay. Here's a screenshot that I found of MC Patcher complaining that Risagami's mod loader and Better Than Wolves are both trying to replace the same Minecraft class. So of course it's only going to be able to replace it with one. And this is a whole class of issues that we just don't have anymore. Now with, you know, all of these different mod loaders, this is a completely dead issue. And the entire class of issue is pretty much gone unless you're getting too enthusiastic with your redirect mix-ins and, you know, using an overwrite on something. Then the problem of 2 people trying to modify the same bit of Minecraft code, it's not an issue. And so are a lot of things, really, like item ID conflicts and block ID conflicts, stuff like that. Don't have to worry about it. Not a thing at all. And my point is that mods used to be far, far less compatible with each other than they are now. And I think it is important to recognise this, because we really do take it for granted. So that's what I mean by mods compatibility and interoperability. You can use them together. But what do I mean by deep mod interoperability? Well, in essence, the term refers to having like proper integrations between different mods. So it's the difference between compatibility and integration. Having proper integrations allows players to use the mods as if they were one complete unit, not this kind of disparate collection of things that they're playing with. So instead of having mods which just work alongside each other, you can have mods which cooperate and allow the players to just have a fun integrated experience. But why should you care about that? Well, I did some research. I had a poll, and it was very in depth. Here's the results. People like it when there are integrations between mods, and I think none of us have really learned anything there. We already knew this, but I did actually ask a question which did teach me some things, and that was I asked for examples. Why do people like integrations? What integrations have stuck out to them, and have they remembered? Well, of the responses that I got, there were a huge range. There was a big kind of range of Minecraft versions and mod loaders, and a lot of different mods. Here are just a small selection of the responses. JEI came up a lot, and this makes sense because an information showing mods obviously massively benefits from being able to show information from other mods. And of course, JEI had an API, REI has an API, EMI has an API, not one which I'm using yet, but as soon as I finish this talk, I'm gonna start adding EMI support to HEMA. Because, yeah, obviously something like this is a clear use case for APIs and these kind of integrations between mods. It's what that entire class of mod is used for. But there were plenty of other mods mentioned as well that were in a completely different kind of category. Like, for example, Aurora's Decorations was mentioned, with its amazing feature of adding variants of blocks for any kind of type of wood that it can detect. It's got like this class of like a couple hundred lines of code that inspects the registry for things that look like wood. The result is stuff like this. These are some signposts made out of this one there. This one is some kind of wood from Botania, and this one is some kind of wood from Bewitchment, and they just kind of, yeah, sorry, it's a bit small, but they just kind of look like they're supposed to be in the mod. It's awesome. People also mentioned that with ecotones installed, plants from Aurora's Decorations generating custom ecotones world gen, which I thought was quite an interesting thing I didn't know about. That's pretty cool. Although, while we're here, I'd also like to take a quick detour just to get something off my chest. Look at a couple of these examples of things people liked. We got here, where is it? Most tech mods that are built to interact with each other's systems, and the biggest one is there being a single power system, RF, instead of each mod having their own. I guess we've got a forward user over here. But that's my point. People like having unified energy. It is so much nicer as a player in a lot of circumstances. Obviously, it won't work in every circumstance. You're always going to have lots of mods that will perform, that will be way better as an experience with their own custom energy system, sure. But for a lot of mods, just having one unified energy system is a really good thing for the player and also for the mod developer. It means they don't have to worry about making their own energy system or working out which mod is the best that they should use and hook into, or having to hook into like lots of different mods to use all of their NG systems. For a lot of mods, unified NG is a good thing. Just something to keep in mind. Anyway, one thing that was also mentioned a couple of times was HEMA's compatibility with Rat's Mischief. I think this was probably mentioned just because I posted the survey in the HEMA Discord, but anyway, I want to tell the story behind that. So, HEMA's a vampire mod. Give me a second. And Rat's Mischief is a mod that adds rats. You probably know about it. And one day I added rats to the list of mobs that HEMA vampires can drink blood from. I believe I was probably inspired by this Tumblr post. And the result was that Rat added a commit to Rat's Mischief, which I'm not going to read that out to you, but what it does is it makes rats explode if they touch me specifically. It just added in the on entity collision thing for rat entities, if the UUID is me, then it explodes. So I thought, right, if he doesn't like rats being drunk from, why don't I make rats drink blood themselves? So I spent a couple of hours when I probably should have been sleeping, at about 1 AM, making rats become vampires if you drink blood from them. And they had all of these little red particles around them. I think I've got a picture in a couple of slides ago. Give me a minute. TPS is really low, so if you press a button, it stays pressed for like 10 minutes. There you go. You see it's got all these red particles around it, and it says Vampirat. That's the name tag for it there. And it will go around drinking blood from everything that it can see. It was nice and fun. It was really fun to make, and it was fun to play as well. A lot of people installed both and had a go. It was, yeah, they loved it. Although it wasn't enough to get off Rat's Explode list, so guess I'm gonna have to do something else there. It's fine though. Just don't ask why I'm porting gunpowder on his SMP. So I think that's getting to the root of why you should care about mod integrations, because it is fun. Like, it's fun to make and it's fun to enjoy as a player. Is anyone here familiar with the Modder's Trap? The Modder's Trap.
The mod is trap of that.
Alright, so the idea is that basically we spend so much time modding the game that we don't play it nearly as much as we actually want to.
Well,
Yeah,
I
okay, well,
is that relatable?
Just like picking out ones.
Right. Yeah, we got a lot of people saying it's relatable in chat. But yeah, I think this is actually one of the reasons why many people don't bother with these cross-mod interactions. Because I think some of us, at least I know that I used to before I realised that this was a problem, but I would spend a lot of time working on my own mods, and I wouldn't really play other people's mods. And it was a real shame because it meant that I was kind of becoming out of touch with what's fun to play. And also I was missing out on this, huge source of fun and inspiration for new features and just, enjoyment. Like, that's the reason I got into modding anyway, and I wasn't participating in that anymore. I was just writing a load of code and not actually getting the benefits of it. So my point is, you should get out there and play the game and see what you're missing, because I guarantee you'll care more about mod integrations then. I do think that this con and events like it are a great way of encouraging that. So a big thank you to the organisers, really. It is great to see so many mods working together and just so many people coming and having a go at all of these mods. There's been all sorts of fun stuff going on, all these different events. There was people going around collecting all these trading cards. It's great. But yeah, stuff like this, stuff like joining SMPs. I've joined a couple modded SMPs recently, and every time I go on, I have an idea for some new feature to add to one of my mods. It's a great idea, I think, to go and play the game more, basically. Code less, play more, and then you'll be able to code more. So I am going to talk about like the types of mod integration and deep mods interoperability, and how you can go about them in a minute. But first, I'd like to talk about it where it goes wrong, in a sense, anti-compatibility. So I'm going to talk about Greg. Now, a lot of cross-mod interactions aren't actually planned. I see we've got Oh Lord in chat because I mentioned Greg. Yep, Greg Tech Greg. So a lot of cross-mod interactions just kind of naturally come about. Sometimes because of recipes, sometimes because of two, just random features that happen to work well together. And they allow players to do things that neither mod author actually intended. And I think when these are good, we call them unintentional interactions, but when they're bad, we call them exploits. But really, it's just two sides of the same coin. So, ages ago, there was a duping exploit between Tinker's Construct and GregTech, and I think there are actually a couple of these over the years. I'm just talking about the first one. And when he found out about this, the Tinker's dev, MDO, I think that's how it's pronounced anyway, added this message to the log when both mods were installed, saying, GregTech exploit present, please disable or reverse smelting recipes from GregTech. Now, that happened, that was a thing, but then Greg, the author of GregTech, was not happy with this, and then added this message to the log, which is a lot of text. And I'd like to bring two things to your attention here. The first is the word smolten, which is both incredibly fun as a word, and also I don't think that's a real word. I don't think it is, but it's still a nice word. The second thing, and the more important thing, is this bit here. To disable this message, bug MDO until he fixes it the proper way. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Please don't do anything like this. My point is, well, actually, I'll get to my point of this whole thing after I give you the other thing that I'd like to talk about. So, Imabis, who may or may not be here, once made a mod called RPIC. Yep, Imabis is indeed here. If I get something wrong, shout at me. So, RPIC added power conversion between red power and industrial craft. And people found this useful and they liked it. Remember my people like unified energy slide from earlier? Yeah, turns out they really do like unified energy. Then suddenly, its forum post just got taken down by the Industrial Craft forum moderators because Elaram, I think that's how it's pronounced, the Red Power dev, basically said that Red Power plugins which do energy conversion aren't allowed. And I get it, right? When we publish mods, it's giving something that you've made to the world. And when other people make changes or do something that that fundamentally alters how people experience what you've made, then it can feel like they're saying that your vision of what you want is wrong, and like they're fighting you. But please don't retaliate, because they're not fighting with you. They're just making their own thing. Don't do all of these kind of anti-compatibility nonsense. I think it's got a bit less common recently, which is good, because honestly, it helps nobody. Anyway, on to actual good things. I'm gonna talk about a few ways of doing integrations, and why they help. So, first I'm going to talk about metal plates. So, recipes are one of the most visible forms of interoperability. And they're also one of the easiest to get right, really. So, let's say you make a tech mod and you add metal plates, because, you know, every tech mod adds metal plates. That's just the thing tech mods do. You add a recipe for your metal plates. Let's say you put some iron plates together, like a, you know, fill the crafting table and you get 9 plates, I don't know. And then you add another recipe which says that you put iron plates together like a chest and it makes a fluid pipe, let's say. Because your tech mods add pipes, it's just thing tech mods do. And when you define your recipe for the fluid pipe, you use your item name, your item ID in the recipe, and you test it and it's all good. Then one day, a player comes along, and they don't like the way that you make iron plates in your mod. And they have multiple tech mods installed, because of course they do. And each mod adds its own metal plates, because of course it does, because everybody's too scared to be original. And the player likes the system of making metal plates in some other mod. And they set up a production line to make metal plates from those mods. And then one day they need to transport some fluids, and they've heard good things about your fluid pipes, so they decide to try out your mod by crafting some, and they can't, because they got the wrong plates. And I think this is a simple issue, and I think we all know the solution. You add your item to the correct tag on quilt and fabric, that's C iron underscore plates, and forge, it's forge plate / iron. In my opinion, forge's tag much nicer, but whatever. And you modify your recipe to use the tag instead of a reference to your item name. And great, that's cool. Cool thing about it is it's data packable, so if you forget something, then another mod author or mod pack maker can fix it for you. And I think that's one of the simplest ways of interoperability. And we've all seen this go wrong, I think, and we've all seen this go right. Now, let's have a look at another scenario. This one's about a magic mod. I'd also like to point out, these are not about actual mods. I made these scenarios up. So, let's say you're making a magic mod, and your magic mod adds spells that you can cast with a wand, because of course it does, that's what magic mods do. That's right, I'm calling out magic mods as well as tech mods here, for being unoriginal. And you hold your spells in a big enumeration, because, you know, it's nice and easy to, use a staff, well done. Because, you know, if you just put your spells in a big enum, it's nice and easy to add more spells, you just add more enum values, and it's dead simple to serialize them with the network. You can just, you know, use a enum.ordinal and a var int. I think Packet Bytebuff has a right enum method actually, but whatever. And everything's great. And then one day you get a ping on Discord, and it says, hey, I want to make an add-on to your magic mod. I have some spells I'd like to add. How do I do that? And you realise that they can't, because the only way to do that would be to use ASM or something to do enum extension. And you can't in good conscience recommend that somebody ASM into your mod and extend your enum. So what you reply with is, please give me a couple weeks to rewrite my spell system, and I'll get back to you. So Yes, enum extension is extremely cursed. So, you rewrite your spells. Well, exactly, then they disappear because you spent too long and they don't want to make the add-on anymore. So, you rewrite your spell system and you do it right this time. You make a spell registry. Vanilla Minecraft provides you with all of these excellent tools. Just please use them. If you're adding some kind of content that you need to address by name, registries are a great way of managing it, as long as that content will stay the same throughout the course of the game. If it's going to change like the data pack reloads, then you can use dynamic registries. They're weird. But yeah, registries are great because you get so much for free. You get namespace entry names, so there's no collisions. You get tags for free. You get all sorts of useful codec stuff. You can still transfer stuff over the network without using much bandwidth because registries provide int IDs for that purpose. And content can just be super easily added by other mods. No weird enum extensions, just a registry.register. Cool. So this is another type of interoperability. This is extendability. You know, the ability for other mods to add content to yours. So just remember, registries are your friend. If you've got some enums, are using value over .name a lot, you might want to use a registry. If you're using a map between a string or a resource location and your thing, then you also might want to use a registry. You might not. Might be some situations where you don't want to, but in a lot of situations, that might be the correct choice. I think pretty much all of the mods that I make recently, none of them were published because I run out of motivation halfway through, but all of them, all the ones that I've started recently have used a registry for something. We've got HEMA, of course, the big one, that's got an ability registry. People are saying steal from HEMA, but I didn't see what for. If you're just making registries, on Quilt and Fabric it is super easy. I don't know how you do it on Forge, but you just do, I think it's Fabric Registry Builder, and that'll handle everything for you. Yeah, I'd imagine it is easy on Forge as well. I don't know the specific methods, but yeah. Someone said, "Are you a vampire right now?" I'm not, but I can be. Now I am. Someone just say it's morphing time. Great, now I've lost track of where I am. Right. Actually, you'll never guess what the next slide is.
Mormon.
It's vampires. This is the only scenario that is actually real. Also, I'm gonna turn off vampirism for me just because it's overexposing my slides and I can't actually read what they say. So let's have, yes, the BL in Will BL does stand for Morbius. This is not where I expected this to go. Right. Let's have a look at another scenario. Let's say you're making a vampire mod. Let's say it's called Morb, and vampire players can suck blood from other entities, as long as it makes sense that those entities would have blood. So you decide to let vampires drink blood from all living entities, but you soon realise that's an issue because you can now drink blood from armor stands, because armor stands are living entities for some reason. But it's because I've got an inventory, I think. I don't know. It's dumb. It's dumb is my point, and you wouldn't expect this. So you go back to drawing board, try and work out what you should let yourself drink blood from, and you think, well, what about mob entities? I think somebody said there. Well, of course, the issue there is this thing doesn't have blood. It's just occurred to me I've just let a skeleton loose and you're all in adventure mode. Give me a second. Thanks. So yeah, that thing didn't have blood. That skeleton. So you add a tag because a tag will let you add a nice little list of things, and it's extendable as well. So it, you know, our last situation was about extendability, and this checks off that box because other mods can add their own mobs to be drinkable by putting them in the tag. But I know what you're thinking. Nobody is going to add their own mobs to the tag. And yeah, you're right. So maybe it would be best to have some kind of predicate, but then it's not extendable, and like players or server owners can't overwrite it. But what if we could have the best of both worlds? The configurability and the extendability that comes with tags, and the kind of hassle-free automaticness of working out the correct mobs in code. Well, you can't. Not yet, anyway. But here's a thing: AutoTag. AutoTag is a mod by Apace, who I think is here. One with the sheep, I think. Hey, and this thing is brilliant. It will autofill tags with entries given by a predicate in code, while still letting data packs or mods or whatever blacklist or force insert entries themselves with JSON. However, its API is not yet separated from the part of the mod which autofills certain common tags. I was working on a PR. I was hoping to be ready by now, but Gradle multi-project setups make me cry. So watch this space. Once the API version is once the API only version is ready, I think this will basically be the holy grail for configurable, additionable, extendable is the word that I'm looking for, sets of anything in a registry. So yeah, thank you, Apace, for making this. Sorry that the PR isn't ready yet. Right, so what have we learned here? Well, use tags when you can for configurability and extendability. Use predicates when you have to, because tags won't be practical, and combine them and use AutoTag if you're in the future. Right, I'm gonna stop doing the kind of scenario things, and I'm just gonna talk about things that are good. So, if you want people to create mods which interface with your own, whether those are add-ons for your mods or just separate mods with some kind of interoperability between them, then you'll want to have your mod on some kind of Maven. Because if you don't, people who want to build against it will have to build it themselves and put it on a Maven local, and nobody wants to do that. So Jetpack is very popular, because in many cases it just works, except that these days it seems like it doesn't. I think it has trouble with like newer Java versions or something, but in a lot of cases I've tried to get something from Jetpack and it said that the build has failed. So please don't rely on this. If you are only using Jetpack, please also check after every release that it did actually build properly. And also, it can just be a lousy experience in general, because sometimes you have to wait for the mod to build when you're syncing your Gradle project or whatever. So yeah, it is a pain. Now, if you're uploading to CurseForge, then people can use the CurseForge Maven or Curse Maven, which is a nicer alternative. However, this approach won't pull in your own dependencies transitively, so that can be a bit annoying. If you're uploading to Modrinth, then you can point people to the Modrinth Maven, which functions similarly. I do not know if it pulls in things transitively. I could not see that on their docs, but I might just be blind. Okay, people are saying it has the same issue. Cool. I mean, I think that's fine, really. Like, the CurseForge and Modrinth Maven are good for bringing in what you need to bring in. It's annoying that you have to bring in other things as well, but as, you know, it's good that it's there. Exactly, that they're passable. Now, The thing is, though, it's not all that difficult to get your mod onto a proper Maven repository. You can even use a free static file host and upload your files to that if you really need to, and that will function. What I do is I use Repository, which is this really nice Maven repo software. It is, I think, in alpha, the version that I'm using, Repository version 3, but it is working. I've just got that on a cheap €4 a month Hetzner server. If you do something like that, then you can upload the gradual publish task, and you can have multiple repositories. You can have some of those repositories only visible to certain people, all sorts of cool stuff like that. And you can also use the server for other things. I'm using Caddy for reverse proxying, so I've got lots of things on that server, and then depending on the specific domain name that you're using to connect to it, then it will give you different things. But anyway, that's off the topic. But yes, the other thing is, see if any of your friends have Maven servers that they're willing for you to use. You will notice that a lot of people have their mods on other people's Mavens. I mean, don't go around DMing random people you don't know to say, hey, can I put my stuff on your servers? Can I use all your storage space and all your bandwidth? Because they're not going to say yes because you want. But if you know, if you're friends with someone, then yeah, that might be a good idea. Someone said, I will find a random person to make them top with to. Yes, if you manage to brute force somebody's API key to their Maven, then you're permitted to use it. Right.
For legal reasons, this is a joke.
So, if you're the one making the add-on, or the mod which hooks into another mod, whatever, they're basically the same thing from our perspective, then you're going to have to make sure that you only try and load the other mod's classes if the mod is definitely there, of course. So, in basically any mod loader, this is nice and easy to do. You just make sure that all of the mod code, all of the code which talks to that other mod is safely put away into a different class, and then that class is only, or the methods from that class are only accessed if that mod is loaded, which you can check through any mod loader. If you're using Fabric or Quilt, you can add extra mod initializer entry points. That's what I always do. Add an extra one for each mod, just to separate away that kind of clutter of all the different if mod loaded, then do this. Just move each one of those into its own mod initializer. Of course, it might be that the mod itself has its own, it declares its own entry points. In which case, that's great. You don't even have to do the if is mod loaded thing. You just add the special entry point, and then you can just know that the mod is loaded, because otherwise that entry point would not have been called. That's great. Also, if you're mixing into other mods, it's probably a good idea to use a secondary mixins.json for that. Just for the same reason of keeping that cluster away from your main one. I think you can also change the default required injection points. You can set that to 0, so it won't fail if injects can't find where they need to be. But yeah, mixing into other mods, of course, always a last resort. See if you can do anything else first. Mix in first, official compilator. Nice. So, events. That's another thing I want to talk about, because events are an amazing way of letting other mods change the behavior of yours. So in HEMA, I've got loads of events. There's one that lets you stop vampires from burning. one that lets you trigger vampire burning, one that runs when a player's converted to a vampire, one that runs when a player's deconverted. There's like an event to let you modify damage taken by a vampire, all sorts of stuff. And this is great because it means that you can, as an add-on developer, you can do all sorts of things without having to. That you can do all sorts of things to change the behavior of the mod that has the events without having to do something nasty like mixing in to that mod. Making an event is super easy. On Quilt or Fabric, you just create your pullback interface, create the event with the event factory method, and then grab the invoker and invoke it when you want. Just don't cache the invoker. And on Forge, you just create the event class and then post it on the event bus. As far as I know, anyway, I have not tried creating my own events on Forge yet. I haven't done any Forge dev in ages. I should do more of that. So, yeah, the cool thing about doing this is that you can then also start to put more of your own functionality of your own mods into handlers for these events. And that kind of moves on to something else that I want to touch on. Because making your mods more compatible with others and providing opportunities for interoperability also provides more opportunities for your own mod to develop. By providing these utilities for add-ons, by using registries and by using events, and by whenever you add a feature thinking, how can I code this to make it more extendable? You will make your mod easier to build upon, not just for other people, but for future you as well. By making my mods with interoperability in mind, I've had opportunities to create things I wouldn't otherwise have been able to. I've been able to add features more easily, and to easily provide configuration for my players to change mods to play it how they wish to. I've been able to do things like creating these items. You may have seen these. These are the travel tokens for HEMA. You throw those into a HEMA ritual altar and perform the ritual, and it teleports you down into the booth. That is done via a HEMA add-on. They are indeed databased, however, they are using a custom ritual handler to do the teleportation. In base HEMA, the only ritual handlers are the one which gives you more ability points and the one which lets you open the ability skill tree thingamajiggle UI. So HEMA Extra's BlanketCon adds an extra handler to let you teleport somewhere, and then it uses a regular recipe, because rituals are just recipes, to let these things teleport you to where the booth is and where the upstairs bit is. So yeah, being able to make your mod more extendable also lets you add more things for yourself, not just for other people. So if you're selfish, there's some other motivation to do this. But the other thing that it has given me, that being able to, that adding all of these interoperability features has given me, is that it's reminded me of the social nature of modding, because everything builds on something else. Everyone is building their stuff on somebody else's work. And sure, I've said about these things, but I've also, in a way, only been talking about this last point. None of us would be here if it weren't for the rest of us. Thank you. Alright, I'm going to click this button here, which will apparently open up the floor to questions, so let's see if that works. Thank you.
Yeah!
And,
write a short question, sign it, throw it in the hopper. We all know how this works.
everyone here gets a free vampire hat. Ignore the fact that you can get them through the images anyway. There you go, there's some more hats.
Hey. That's exactly what I expected, though.
And people
Can
don't vouch for
y'all,
these hats.
like, not do that in the middle? You're blocking language recording.
So
Yeah,
this
you can read
question,
it out
which is too big for the screen, says, I recently searched for a tag that includes all blocks with inventories. I ended up finding none. What do I do then? At least I think that's what the rest of the question said. I cannot see the rest of it. So in that case, what you can do is get a predicate that checks if the block is a block entity that has an inventory, but that's going to be quite difficult to do unless you are on Forge and you can do some kind of capability stuff. Again, I do not remember how a lot of Forge stuff works, and I think maybe in the latest Fabric stuff you can use the API, but I'm not too sure. In any case, this might be a good thing for AutoTag to do. I'm not sure though, or perhaps just PRing in a tag JSON to add things to add blocks to that tag if they provide an inventory. If you see any mods which have yeah, my hat is a haunter. I don't know who that is. But yeah, my point is probably try predicate, but that's going to be difficult. So it might just be best to make other people use a tag in that case. Right, what else we got?
I have my suspicions that is G, dude.
That would make sense, wouldn't it? Now, how does that wood mod determine what looks like wood? That would be a question for Lambda. Lambda, how does that wood mod determine what looks like wood? That wood mod being Aura's decorations. Is the answer too complex to put in a sentence? Is Lambda even still here? Lambda is not still here, I don't think. Okay. Oh no.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I see Lambda. If it's more than 2 sentences, I can skip the question. Because I know it is like 500 lines of code, and that might take a while to explain.
Isn't there like a wood registry or something?
Not yet.
Yeah,
Right, usage of names, materials, and a bit more stuff. Okay, I prefer Petrack's version, which is every time someone loads the game, it sends all blocks to Lambda personally, who looks through the registry and marks which ones are wood.
I think I remember hearing from her in the previous thing that basically the way it works is that it just collects a library of different textures for each wood type, and then it assembles those together on the fly into the wood block variants.
I see. I'm gonna put on an actual hat, so I've got 2 now. Right. This is one from Amy that says, Pliswell, can I use your Maven? Sure, but only if you upload full MKVs of Morbius 2022 and nothing else. Right. Oh, there's a lot of things here. I wasn't here for the first 2 minutes. Can you restart it? Alright, sure, let's go. Right from the beginning. You're all sitting here. None of you are leaving. I'm doing the whole thing again. Okay, never mind. It is difficult to spam press the previous slide button, and also it's not actually doing anything because the questions are up. Right. I can't read the ones right at the bottom because they're...
Yeah, just go from the top.
What do you think is the... Alright, what do you think the best way to do runtime checking / modification to other mods is? So, I'm not sure what you mean by runtime checking. Like, checking if the mod is there, because like that's just an is mod loaded thing in most loaders. I say most, all loaders. Modification to other mods, if they provide events or a similar API, then use that. If they don't, see if you can work around it without mixing into them. If they still aren't, if that still isn't possible, I guess use a mix-in, but you've got to use those very sparingly because, of course, there's no guarantee that the version of the mod that you're building against is going to have anything in common code-wise with the version of the mod that a player is using. Right, let's have a look. Right, what about mods that have very different balances of energy? Wouldn't a unified energy API cause issues? Sure, that's why I said a lot of mods wouldn't be appropriate for a unified energy API. However, a huge amount of mods just add like a couple of things, like a couple of machines or a couple of power generation utilities. And for all of those things, the options are either find a mod which adds an energy API and attach itself to that, you know, which then means that you can't use it with other ones unless somebody adds a proper power conversion thing. Alternatively, write your own energy API, and now you've got to add all sorts of machines and stuff to just your small little mods which wanted to add one little power generation thing. Alternatively, use the unified API, which just solves these issues, and for things which have massively different balance or massive different like conception of energy, they can use their own thing still. You can have a main like official style API and still
Not to
right. People are saying people are saying sorry, go on.
Not to interrupt, but couldn't like this be a good case for like a power conversion thing to come into play where like every 100 of power A could convert into 1 of power B, with power A being like way more plentiful in how much you get of it.
Right, so you're saying that instead of a unified NG API, there should be an API that lets different energy APIs register how much
like
they are
power
in terms of
thing.
yeah, like a power
Or
conversion
like that,
API.
or like that one block in Botany that turns mana into RF, something like that.
Oh,
Sure,
oh.
but then the issue is when you do just want to make a mod that just adds like one machine.
Yeah, I actually made a library to try and interconvert between systems like that a while back, and let me just say it's hard to convince people to use it, is the main issue.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the thing. If it's built into a mod loader, or well, not a mod loader, but if it's built into a standard library for a mod loader, then you're not going to have to try and convince everyone to use it. It's just there, and people can still not use it if they want to. They're not forced to. It's and it is great for players. As I said, this wasn't like a loaded question that I gave people. I just said, what are some integrations that you like? And like 3 of them independently out of like 20 responses said, I like RF. I like how everything uses the same energy and I don't have to worry about that. Alright, what else we got? Will you consider contributing to the Put Wiki? It seems you... Well, I have terrible short-term memory because I read the rest of that question like 2 seconds ago and it's already gone from my mind. I think it was just, it seems you have some stuff that would be, you know, some information that would be useful to add. And yes, I did start writing out some like wiki page drafts, just, you know, on my computer, and they weren't very good. But yeah, I'll try. I'll try and contribute to the Put Wiki. It should. Yeah. Yeah, I'll try. Right. Well, I clicked a button there and nothing happened. Let me try that again.
I don't
Not
see
moving for
anybody
me, so I think
moving,
the
so I
server
think
died.
something went wrong.